One of the things I want to ask you to before we get into what you're going on, what's going on with you now, I didn't know this. You were, I guess, heavily considered to be the lead singer for Slash's Snake Pit, the first version. So, can you tell us that story kind of when? Because that was, I think, Guns N' Roses. I don't know if they were broken up then or because Slash's Snake Pit started towards the end of GNR, but obviously Slash wanted to do his own thing. So, tell us how that opportunity happened and maybe how close were you, to being Eric Dover, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, my introduction to Guns N' Roses, to the Guns N' Roses music, had came through a chance meeting with West Arkeen, who co-wrote some of their early material.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Upon arriving into LA, when I was going out, discovering LA at nightlife and everything, I had a chance meeting to meet West at the Garden Sunset Hotel where there was a party being held. And very unassuming character, scraggly hair, very low key. And we were talking by the pool area. There was this courtyard at the Sunset Garden Hotel where it's just a pool. And I just, by chance, just started chatting up with him. And he just started talking, yeah, I write some music and stuff, and I just, I've co-written some Guns N' Roses songs, and I was like, oh wow, that's great. So it just turned out to be his party. He was celebrating a publishing deal that he had just signed, and I had no idea because he seemed so unassuming, and everybody else was like, loud and doing what they're doing. And so that's how I got introduced to the Guns N' Roses music. And he was a great guy, and on tour, one day I was watching MTV and there he was with Axl at the Scrap Bar playing acoustic. And I was like, I know that guy.
That's so
And
cool.
so West, I would run into him from time to time at the Rainbow or at the Cat House or at the Cat and Fiddle on Sunset. And he was always a cool guy. It's a shame about how he passed away and everything. And you know I those guys were swinging low. You know what I mean? I was on the up. Those guys were doing a whole different thing. There was other subculture going on that I really wasn't awakened to.
Okay.
Those guys were the real deal. I mean, of course, they are the real deal, with coming out, Guns N' Roses, they threw everything on the table. What you see is what you hear is what you get. So, but going back to West, that was my introduction. So we fast forward some years, coming off the heels of Violet's demise, just doing some rough mixes with Dave Jordan. Um, my management got a call from the great Jimmy Bain, the late great Jimmy Bain, who played with Ronnie and Rainbow for many years. So, he was friends with Slash, of course, and, the part of the fabric of the Rainbow and everything. So, Jimmy had called my management. He said, we need a package like ASAP for Slash's people for consideration for his new band called Slash's Snakepit. So I thought about it for a second. Here I still have a deal, of course, and I'm just finishing up mixes and rough mixes. And I thought about it and I was like, well, this could be cool, too. If I could do this too. So I rushed and got a few rough mixes together, board tapes from the studio, and off went Jimmy the next night to deliver the package to Slash. So, I didn't hear anything back. I mean, it was like a couple of weeks later, nothing really came from it other than running into Mike Inez at a club called the Pelicans Retreat in Calabasas. We were hanging out, roughing it up, having a good time. And then he pulled me aside. He goes, "Hey, man, you were really seriously considered for the Slash Snake Pit new spot, as a singer." I said it would have been cool, I would have loved to have done it, but I don't know what, could have, should have. I don't know. Maybe it was my Atlantic deal. maybe Atlantic, my A&R guy, got wind of it. You never know with these things, you know what I mean? When people are tied up with contracts, things can get really messy. People can get sued,
Mhm.
and that's just the way, the nature of the business. So
That's cool, and I didn't know West was a part of this story, and I really appreciate you sharing a little bit of his personality because he's just an while it's a tragic ending, he's an unsung hero.
he
Uh,
is an unsung hero. Like I said, he was very personable, very like low key. I had no idea this cat was on the level of writing songs with Axel and the rest of the band. You know, it's so easy. That's one of my favorite Guns songs. And I mean, he was part of that.
yeah,
And running into meeting him that night, and then running into him later on at different clubs. He was always very cool and just laid back, and we'd have a couple of drinks. And he was definitely having a good time. That's for sure. You know what I mean? He did. He did well for himself on that publishing deal, but it's a sad end to a very talented guy who put his heart and soul into giving the best that he could, giving the best that he got.
yeah, and for what it's worth, if it means anything, that's why I like keeping these guys' memories alive. Some of these people that we've lost through, the podcast or social media, people that should be remembered. Just trying to do
Absolutely,
my little small part, uh,
absolutely.
and before we switch up from the GNR portion of it, you've seen Slash since then, or have you interacted with him?
After that whole delivering of the package. Some years go by. Later, I would, run into him periodically. Like, he'd be in Phoenix chilling out, with a mutual friend at their house. And, I would be invited over for, a little private party, and we'd have some drinks and some laughs, and always low key, very, very cool. The ironic thing is that we never really talked about music. All we did was just like shoot the shit, and just talk about everything else and play pool, and that was about it. I think running into him at the farmers market with his baby London and
I
my
love that.
baby Delilah. They're both in there. Hey, London, Delilah. Who ironically we ran into London at the Magic Castle on his birthday, like last year. And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, when Slash introduced me to his kid, he was just a baby, and then to see him like 7 feet tall, and hearing, that he plays drums and he's out on tour and all this
Yeah.
good stuff, it's a trip, to see our kids go from
Mm.
little, Harrison's
Right.
stature to, and just give it, whatever, 12 more years, they'll be, taller than you.
Uh, in him, he might be taller than me in a year, but
Yeah.
that's cool. I appreciate you sharing that story. And you never know in the future because Slash is always doing stuff with
He's man, he's a working machine, man, which is great to see that he's been able to have so much success and doing what he loves doing, doing a blues album recently, which is
yeah,
great. I love that he pays homage to the blues because he's a classic rock guy all the way. His infinity for the blues and classic rock is, on a high standard. So I appreciate musicians like that, and I'm happy to see him doing so good out there and keeping his legacy alive and giving the music audiences, rock classic lovers, his music.